Men still make 60%, we get 40%. People of color, less. I'm just gonna call it. Some of my friends, and I'm thinking, I am not saying how much I'm making because it's embarrassing. So there are a lot of variables that go into that question, and we all know them, we work it every day. It's a big conversation.
I hate to say it kills me because I'm trying to watch how I use my words because I don't want this to be the thing that kills me, really. But it's so fun, it's ironic. I will see it and I will fight it.
Hello, I am Jamie Bisco, and welcome to SHEntertainment's Making It in the ATL. We are here at the Clutch Restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia, and we want to give them a huge thank you for hosting us. Atlanta is currently known as the new Hollywood of the South, but Atlanta has been in the film and TV industry for decades. Along with making those TV shows and those films, we have actors and actresses who have carved out their careers right here from the ATL. We have gathered some of the most hard-working actresses who have worked tirelessly to build their careers frame by frame right here from Atlanta. We have Crystal Fox from The Have and Have Nots, The Big Door Prize, Big Little Lies. Reese Odom, Cold and Windy, The Pass, BMF. Rhoda Griffiths, The Righteous Gemstones, Ozark, Fear the Walking Dead. Donna Bisco, The Supremes at Earl, All You Can Eat. Tempted by Love, Reasonable Doubt. Don Half Kenny, Saints and Sinners, Family Business, Tales. Kay Singleton, The Oval, Covenant, Reasonable Doubt. Also, we have one of the most sought out casting directors, Leslie Green. Why Atlanta? Why did you make the decision to stay in Atlanta opposed to going to LA? And what were some of the factors that helped you make that decision? Anybody can answer.
I believe in grow where you're planted. And I think the South is a beautifully viable jumping off place if one does want to go to New York or LA, but it is a wonderful place to live, whatever a normal life is. I just think we're fortunate to stay here.
Yeah. I mean, if we're being honest, the cost of living is great here in Atlanta compared to the other states, you know, in other regions. So that's why I stayed.
I had a family when I started acting. I started late and by accident. And, so by the time I started, I was already established here. And once my career began to build, I was like, do I really want to go to LA? You know, I didn't really feel the need to because I was, knock on wood, fortunate enough to be able to work enough so that I could sustain a life here. So.
I felt the same way. I started out with theater here, and then when I wanted to try to stretch my wings and attempt anything else, things were coming here, so I got an opportunity to audition for things here. And I remember thinking when I got to do In the Heat of the Night, I remember thinking they would only come in for 6 months and then they would leave. And I remember thinking whoever would be the first studio to stay here are gonna clean up, but it took a while, so they're here now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I went to college here, so I absolutely love Atlanta. I went to LA for about 5 years, and mostly to go to Stella Adler, and I trained with Ivana Chubbuck, but it was something about Georgia, Atlanta, my family's here, and I was like, I want to see if I can make it at home. And Atlanta started booming around 2017, 2018 when I came. This to me is the new Hollywood, and you can make your dreams come true here, and why not do it around family where you can live well and where you can enjoy all this culture. So it was a no-brainer for me, for sure.
Yeah, now for me, much like you, I mean, I'm from here though, born and raised in Atlanta, and I did move to LA for about 6 or 7 years too, for different reasons, but to also pursue more of a studying aspect of it, and then moved back home because I wanted to be close to my family. That meant more to me, along with the dream, than, to not be with my family to make it work, and thankfully we were able to do that. So that's why Atlanta for me.
Yeah, for sure. Crystal,
Yes.
you are a season regular on the Big Door Prize and also #1 on the call sheet for A Fall from Grace. Did you book those out of Atlanta or LA? And how important is it to be bi-coastal?
Well, I've learned that it's not that important for me to be bi-coastal because every time I've attempted it, I've gotten work in other places or back. But let me be very clear. I'm very, very proud of this. Yes, I have representation that is in Los Angeles, but I booked them from sitting there doing my self-tape in my basement. So for me, I booked them from here. Or put it this way, even if I had to send that tape to LA, the beauty of it was that they came back and they filmed it here. The Big Door Prize is filmed here. What was the other one you mentioned?
Fall from Grace.
Fall from Grace. TP Studios, yes, please. So yeah, I'm very grateful to have been able to do these projects and do them home.
Dawn.
Yes.
I know you are constantly working on the family business and My Valentine Wedding. How did you know when it was time to add additional representation to your team?
Well, for me, starting off here in Atlanta, my agency only represents the Southeast region. And so if you want to work in other networks, other regions, you have to get representation there because there's other projects that's going on, whether it's in New York or LA, and I'm like, other shows, and I'm like, okay, how can I expand my, my resume or, just meet and network with other people so I can get on those shows. And of course you have to get representation there. It only makes sense, to have, so for me, I have an agency here, but I have a manager in LA. So I'm able to get, auditions from multiple reasons. So I think it's great. I think, for me, it works. To each his own, but it's just an opportunity,
Yeah, I think it's really important starting out because I hear stories about newcomers having an agent, a manager, an attorney,
A publicist.
and the whole gamut. And I think it's really important starting out that you're very careful with bringing all these people on board because at that point you're making less, because that's a lot of money going out starting out.
They want the percentage.
And I think if you have an agent who is good, who is really working for you starting out, that's all you need, really. It really is. And once your career begins to build, because I was like you, Don, wanting to venture out of this region. And if you have enough credit, then it's worth bringing someone else on board to, one, for me, once I got my manager, because my agent was here and my manager was out in Los Angeles, it helped me tremendously here in Atlanta. For some reason, why? I don't know. But it did. So, but I think you have to be real careful.
Well, now I have to backtrack off of what you asked me originally. It's been a journey with representation because at one point I did have was bi-coastal representation, but I have to say, not one agent that I worked with from the start of my career until as recently as 5 years ago believed in my career. And so who I tried to get on and have and be with, it was trial and error, thinking, let me go to LA and let me try to get someone that did all these different things. And usually the beauty of it was it happened as a result of relationships I had with other people who gave me the contacts. So I was grateful having them, but it didn't move forward for me until I got with a smaller agent. They are in California. They're not bi-coastal. However, the fact that they believe in me, they've gotten the best auditions, whether I got them, exactly, because they believe in you. And so that's a lot of time spent paying people who don't believe in you and not going anywhere. So I guess I go back to say, yes, they live in LA. I do get more things here. And the other thing, y'all, I don't know if you've experienced this, one of the hardest things that I became aware of, I had a local agent, but it wasn't their fault about anything, but they weren't ready for the types of contracts that LA and New York were aware of. And so I think sometimes people coming in would take advantage of that. We may speak on that later, just even about what you're offered for the roles. But you feel like you need to get representation in places that are used to handling large contracts, like LA and New York. So yeah, otherwise they'll just run over the agents that don't know better. So.
That was really good. That's really good. Leslie, having casted several projects, do you find it difficult to get directors and producers to hire Atlanta talent for lead roles?
Yes and no. Is it because a lot of times they'll come in knowing who they want already? For me, the projects that I do in Atlanta, 99.9% of the time, they want Atlanta people.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of casting here, because they really want, and that's why a lot of people come here. But that goes into what you were talking about, the pay disparities. So, yeah. One of the things I will say, you gotta have a good relationship with your team, make sure they know what they're doing, because you get what you negotiate at the end of the day. And I advocate a lot, but if your team ain't working with me to get you, it's nothing I can,
Yeah.
I still want my job, but I'll be like, okay, that's all you, okay. That's all they wanted, okay. So, but it's yeah. They come in here, they're always looking for, unless the showrunner or producer is an actor and they are the lead. And they'll come to Atlanta and they want everybody else based out of Atlanta. So that's something most people don't really,
Yeah.
a lot of times the actors are starting to produce content.
Yeah.
And so they'll be number one and then they'll come to Atlanta. So you can't put an Atlanta person in number one because their slot was already taken, where it starts looking like, oh, well, they just hired somebody from LA. Well, the person that they hire is the person who's the showrunner, who's the person who's the EP on a project. So that's one of the things we talk about all the time. It's so many different things that go into casting a project. Every project is different. So sometimes it's that, sometimes it's other things that go into it, and you just be like, okay. But people be like, man, they only want LA people, and that's not always the case.
Can I ask a question too?
Yes.
Ms. Leslie, are self-tapes here to stay?
I hope so, honestly. But here's the thing, I'm gonna tell you why. I still had my sign, was cleaning up my house the other day. I still had my sign that I used to put outside that says, now casting, form a line here for in-person auditions. But what has happened is people from all over can audition. And the reach within the relationships are a lot more vast now. So yes. It's not going away, but what I will say is a lot of directors like having in person.
Yeah, of course, because you can redirect.
I like having in person, but what I'm starting to ask is when they see 5 people they like, let's bring them in, so you can give them an opportunity to direct, and so. I'm starting to see some of that.
Nice.
But not everybody suggested. I suggested, specifically.
For our side of things, I don't like doing the self-tapes. Oh my God, just agony. But I will say, I'm hoping if they're here to stay, I prefer the Zoom ones. Because exactly, so you can take direction. Otherwise,
I have to take advantage of that. I don't request it as much, and I know it's a thing now where you're supposed to be able to, but I have yet to do
and
that.
it's still, because it's, even though they say you can, it still feels tentative that you can, because they'll still send you self-tape, and it's like, okay, and only a few things I've ever gotten that says self-tape or, but yes.
So what I would say, with somebody of your status, you should be able to request it. I would like to have a Zoom with the director. Because what I'm seeing now, depending on the level of a person or the experience, you are able, people want to see you. The director the director I'm working with, he's like, well, can we get them on the Zoom? And I'm like, say less, you know. So you should be able to request that.
And
I
I
believe
think
that.
too, in that's
Absolutely.
where we were talking about having a manager or
An
other
agent
reps.
that knows, that relationship.
Yeah, because my manager, all I have to do is say,
She's amazing.
Can we do this? And she's like, say less. And she's on
That's
phone
fabulous.
getting it done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So
what I think people don't realize is a lot of people in this industry don't realize what the job of a manager does. Like they're the ones that they hit the door. Listen, this is what my person needs. Da 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 da. The agent's like, okay, so what are you offering?
Yeah,
Okay, so we want to come back. So it's two different sides of it, and when they work together cohesively with you, you get what you negotiate.
What is the saying, y'all? And I'm gonna jack it up. It's almost like 20%, I think you pay your agents or your manager, whatever, 80% is your responsibility. So it's still supposed to stay on you to check in. I know
It's called show business for a reason.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and if you don't ask for it as the actor,
Yes.
it won't happen.
It won't happen.
But as Southern women, I've found that is a difficult decision to decide your worth. We are so fast to give our power away instead of thinking it through and saying, I am worth ...
Amen.
It's a difficult thing to realize one's worth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
it's
too,
a
as
Northern
actors,
Minnesota
we have
across the
to,
board.
and it took me a long time to do this, to get to the point to say no.
Yeah.
There is power
You're
in no.
willing,
Oh, no.
you want to pay me what?
Exactly.
And to be able to say, well, I'm going to pass on that.
Yes.
But
You
what
know what I
goes
mean?
into that though? Are you looking at the director? Are you looking at the
Right.
team? So when you say I'm a pass, it was the script garbage.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It just depends.
Because
Yeah, it
if
really
it's-
depends.
So for me on this side, I be like, man, ugh. I understand the passing because of the money.
Yeah.
And that's why I advocate. If I know it's a possibility of more money, I'm going to advocate. And I will say something, well, just ask. If I tell an agent or manager, well, just ask, that means let me go back and say, she's willing to do it, but.
But there is a lot of things you have to look into when
yes.
passing. You know, okay, they're not paying me that much right now, but this is gonna be a big movie. I'm gonna make a lot of money in residuals. You know, you have to look at that.
And look
Because
at
the
the
movie I
director.
just recently did, when they first wanted to cast me for it, and they said what, my pay was, and I was like, oh. But then I looked at who was in that movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all of my scenes were with the leads in the movie. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. Even my people were telling me, no, that's just too low. You should pass on it.
But I'm telling you, it's almost like a combination of what you all are saying. One, I feel like maintain no. It's the strongest word we have. But when you use it, matters as well. And one of the hardships for one is when you're asking for something because your length of time has earned it, and people make you feel like, but you're in Atlanta. They don't say this, but you're in Atlanta. You shouldn't even be asking for it. There was literally one situation when I was doing In the Heat of the Night. They paid me a day player's rate for a series regular role. And when we tried to change it, I was told from LA, oh no, they've gotten you for this, they're gonna keep you there because you're in Atlanta. And so there it is, if you don't have someone who when the negotiations happen, their voice and their no or their she needs is respected in that community, they just go, oh, but it's Atlanta. And you can negotiate, you can try, and they're just like, no, we're not gonna go beyond this because it's Atlanta. So anything pushing it then turns into a whole nother thing where it's like, oh, that's a difficult artist. Not because you're asking for your worth. They make it's got to be you wrong or something.
I want to thank you for being a pioneer and for breaking some of those glass ceilings for us then, because it takes a strong woman, since we're all women here, to say, No.
No.
I don't have to say I'm sorry or really or I feel.
Yeah.
It's just
Absolutely.
No.
And on the other side of that, as a producer, I do know that a lot of the funds, budget-wise, the 1, 2, 3 on the call sheet, that's where a lot of the money is going. And then post-production could be 30% of the budget. And then who knows with the locations and the cameras and the this and that, the budget balloons. And because they're not green lighting as much money now, it's like they're stretching it so thin. This just happened to me for a movie I just shot. Tisha Campbell was the lead, Melissa D'Souza was number 2, and then Wendy Raquel, who I've been a fan of for a very, very long time, was directing. So I was like, of course I'm gonna do this. Now, was it the amount of money that I wanted? No, but because I knew what the budget was and I knew where they had to spend it, it's a different thing. And they specifically sometimes hire from Atlanta because they're out of money. And they're like, okay, this particular
of
role
talent.
needs to be an Atlanta actress because we spent it on 1 and 2, and it has to be this for this role because we're out.
Yes.
And understanding both sides of it, I think it's still frustrating for me because who doesn't want more money? But I understand the rhyme and the reason going into it. So it's
And we want to pick, I think we're all creative, so you want to support some people creating as well. So a lot of times, yes, you will take less money. It's never been all about money for me either, but the artistic expression, and definitely when like the team of women you just named, of course you want to help them realize something that they're creating. So yeah.
It's been, but to your point though, you have being on those shows and making it so that Atlanta actresses are taken seriously. We do. Listen, we are in gratitude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying still.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Because you get what you negotiate. So I will say this, if somebody doesn't have the money you want, then tell them you want producer credit and I want money on the back end and make them sign off on it. Like it's so many other places you can get money. Sometimes they do have it and sometimes they don't. But what I'm saying is let them figure it out. Because if they want you, they asked you for a reason. Everybody is not as dispensable as,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
that's
point.
true too.
Rhoda, I loved your work in Righteous
I'm here.
Gemstones. And you played Nice Nasty very
well.
Very well.
Something about
Very
this
well.
says biatch, and I apologize.
And I love your Southern accent. Like you are a Southern belle. How have the roles that you're getting, are they limited because your accent is so prominent and have like your representation, have they ever told you to tone it down or get rid of it?
No. I am a conservatory trained actor, so I can lose my accent. I worked in New York for 5 years before I moved to Atlanta. It seems as if there are Southern roles here that they want an authentic accent, because we've all heard the faux one. Thank you, and you're thinking, do I sound like that? There's a difficulty in being branded. I have so many young actors come up to me and want to be branded or go to a class about being branded. I say, you don't have anything to brand yet. Not to hurt your feelings. Get out there and try everything on. You're in a big dressing room. Here's a turtleneck. Oh, here's a tube top. Try everything on for size. If you just want to be a star, then I can't help you. I don't know what that is. If you want to be a working actor, you do you. Everybody else is taken. Figure out what makes you authentically you. And for some reason, mine is opinionated white biatch. Do I hate it? Sometimes I do. Some things that I'm asked to say are horrendous. But deep down, we all know there are people thinking those things. And maybe I represent that side that someone would go, you are a horrible human being. And I have to take that and go, yeah, she was bad. I'm gonna ride that pony to the barn because I believe it is a gift from God to be branded. But I do enjoy playing other characters too. For some reason, that's the pony I'm riding.
Well, that's just
So I will
because you're
take it.
brilliant. So, so in
I will
everything you
take
ever
it, but
do.
I don't ask very often. I would imagine 18 to 27% of my work is with no accent. Why? I don't know.
Reese, you recently landed a recurring role on Cold and Windy on Stars. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Tell us how that came about, and are you now in a place where you can say no to auditions and not be panicked by it?
Well, okay, so Cold and Windy is on All Black.
Oh, okay.
But BMF is on Stars,
Okay.
I believe, right? So,
Not bad.
no, I just wanted to clear that up just for the show. But I'm happy to be on both. But no, Cold and Windy, of course, was an audition. And I love playing, like much like you were saying, I typically do get, and I think some of us have experienced that, the good girl, the one that's just either a nurse or a mom or, somebody nice. But I love playing not nice. Like I like playing the boss, and I just think I had so much fun doing that audition that just kind of resonated with them. And now I'm Savannah, the music label, record label executive that kind of just eats into my talent.
So this is a question for all. Let's talk about the huge pay disparity between Atlanta and LA. And how or what do you think is going to change that? Because even the union has recognized it as a problem.
Might I offer, the elephant in the room is men still make 60%, we get 40%. People of color, less. I'm just gonna call it. Some of my friends, and I'm thinking, I am not saying how much I'm making because it's embarrassing. So there are a lot of variables that go into that question, and we all know them. We work it every day. It's a big conversation.
It is. And that's the big question. How do you fix that?
Well, I will say this. Not to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish. Jesus, I hate to say it kills me because I'm trying to watch how I use my words because I don't want this to be the thing that kills me, really. But it's so fun. It's ironic. I will see it and I will fight it. Like, I hate to say I'm an indie casting director, but I'm so glad that I'm not, stuck in a space where I just gotta check off boxes. And I can see stuff and I can negotiate and I can argue with them and I'd be like, oh, we're not doing this. Like, for real, because I have seen what they wanna offer a man and I was just like, but he ain't doing nothing. She's doing all the work. What? Y'all can't do this. And of course, I'm the only woman, and I'm the only one, and I just so happen to be the chocolatest thing in the room. And when I do go in, I have all my facts. And I tell them why. Even though the way I deliver sometimes might be like I'm still in West Philly. But then I have to remind myself, this is a business. But I fight it as much as I can. It depends on the production company and all of the things, but yeah.
And there too, and again, that's where your reps come to play, because when you book a recurring role on a big show, and you know if they bring somebody in from California to do that, you gotta pay. Location fees, I mean, all the money that goes into that, and it's like, so you don't think casting me, I can't get some of that money coming my way?
And that's one of the things I do say. Well, this person already here.
Yeah.
And I went to one of the union meetings when we were on strike. And that was the very first thing that came out of the guy's mouth. Well, we know that, you guys are fighting the disparity in pay, and trust us, we're going to deal with that when we settle all of this, and yin and yang, and nothing ever happens.
I will offer
to this
something
project.
positive, just because I feel like I have to. It's way better than when we first started.
Well, that's true.
So I do have to say, we are making baby steps, and we do stand on the shoulders of pioneers who literally did it all and fought and still worked for scale.
Yeah.
And it's not like a music contract and that your last album and you go from there. Some of us go down to the bottom again and try to build up. But it is better than it was, and it's gradually changing. I'm gonna keep my head down and raise the banner. There are some unbelievable actors here in Atlanta. Take a look around, just put your different glasses on. Maybe you don't know their work, give them a shot. Give them a shot.
Kay, you secured your first deal as a first-time showrunner and creator for the limited anthology series Covenant. Tell us about the series and your journey getting it aired.
Well, I'll start with what it is. It's a faith-based anthology series. It takes Bible stories and thrusts them into modern-day times and modern-day circumstances. And I love it because not only does it reach church folk, the real saints, but it also is secular. They can reach them as well because it just tells a good story. So it doesn't put the Bible story in the forefront. It's dark, it's gritty, it's drama-filled, and I love being able to do the project. I think the process was difficult for me because I started, and I think recently, it was in 2018, I started taking writing classes with Bridge 17. And it was about 2 years of writing classes before I started pitching not just that show, but several different shows, a political drama, a sports drama. I was pitching 5 different things, hoping one of them would hit, right? And so once I had to recalibrate once I had a meeting with a network in New York that they canceled the night before. And I was there and all this money I wasted on the hotel and the flight and all the things. And I took 24 hours to be depressed because they were like, just email the decks. And I was like, there's no way I'm just emailing these decks. Is this, that's your IP. Took 24 hours, I called up Brett Dismuke the next day and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in LA next month. Can I come and pitch these shows? Now, I really wasn't going to be in LA, but I was going to make it my business to be there. And so I went and I pitched the 5 shows. They end up choosing Covenant, which I didn't even have a pilot for at the time. It was just the pitch deck. And then we go into development where I have to write every episode. And that is because there wasn't enough money to have a writer's room in the budget. I'm just gonna be transparent. Can we talk? So that was frustrating to, have to go through that process. But I was a newbie, I was naive to the world and I was learning along the way. And then we were in the pandemic. So I wrote most of it then and then was trying to film the Oval at the same time. So it was a lot going on. And then I didn't really know all of the ropes. I had done 2 short films that were in Bronze Lens and Black Women Film Network, their festival. But doing a whole series is completely different than producing 2 short films, right? And so you have to trust your team. And there was a lot of bumps along the way where I didn't necessarily have the right producers and the right team around me. And we end up having an amazing project, but the budget and the money are those things that you have to know how to handle, how to manage, and how to hire the right people to make sure that you don't have pitfalls. And because at the end of the day, you have to turn in a product, right? I have to, by a deadline. And so by the grace of God, we turned it in. It did go over budget. Thankfully, I had the Oval to pay for it. Because, and that's another thing about contracts, the way my deal was set up, I had to cover any overages with the way my distribution deal was in order to maintain the copyright. But all in all, it was a blessing. And it did well. I decided to take a step back and figure out how I wanted to take this show to the next level. So, drum roll, I recently acquired the rights to the show last month. So now I own it fully. And it took a minute. And now I want to take it to other networks. And I am inspired by, both Crystal and I have worked for Tyler Perry, inspired by how he owned his shows and he's able to take them to whether it's TBS or BET, now Paramount Plus is going to have his slate of shows. And so knowing how important ownership is in the process, that's why you see these shows on Netflix or Hulu, they'll have 1 or 2 seasons and then they go away and you never see them again. And those creators and showrunners and writers, they can't do anything with it because Netflix owns it. It's a Hulu original or it's an Apple original. And it could have been a great show. Maybe it just was not at the right network. And so now, and I'm thankful to Brett Dismuke, shout out to him, he's the president of All Black, for him allowing me the opportunity to purchase it back. And when I say the rights, domestic US distribution, Canada and the Bahamas, you need that to actually be able to take it to different networks. So it was an arduous process, and I'm glad in the hindsight, I'm glad it was, because I was able to learn all sides of the business from development, pre-production, to post, to legal deliverables, and it's all a doozy. And now I'm learning the process of distribution and aggregators and selling it to TVOD, SVOD, AVOD. Now it's a whole other side of the business that I'm learning, but it's exciting at the same time. So, yeah.
Now you have a skill set with your own art. That's like incredible and amazing. And it can be difficult, but you know it now. So that your next time, and your next time, and your next time, you get to have the next times. Absolutely, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Yeah.
And I hope I answered your question. I don't need, okay.
Donna, you had 4 projects come out in the month of August. That is crazy. Go girl, go girl. So you did the Supremes at All You Can, Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat.
Yes.
And that role, you were hilarious, girl. We have never seen you do something, a comedic role like that. So tell us about that, because you're usually the dark drama, evil lady. So tell us, scary lady. Tell us how you landed that role, and was it easier than doing what you're used to?
Well, I auditioned for it. My initial audition was out of Atlanta. And I think I had like 3 auditions for it. I auditioned once, and then she called me again, and I knew the director, Tina Mabry, because I had worked with her when she first started in one of her movies. And she sent some notes. We did it again. And then I had the director's audition on Zoom. And I did it. And she laughed so hard. But you know, it's so weird. I didn't really approach the role trying to be funny. You know what I'm saying? It's just, who is this woman? You know, how does she react to these people around her? And I tried to approach it in that manner, and she just came out funny. She was just ridiculous. And I tried to really find a lot of me. Actually, I shouldn't really say that. Look at you. In her. And and it was so funny because when I got on set, Tina looked at me and she said, just have fun. She said, that's all I want you to do is have fun. And a couple of times when I tried to go dramatic, she was like, cut. Have fun. Just have fun. So I was like, okay, so I guess I can, be a little bit on the ridiculous side with this woman. But
it looked like you had a lot of fun, because I'm laughing now like,
I had so much
amazing.
fun.
Hilarious.
And it's actually harder
Oh, it is. Much harder.
to do comedy without looking crazy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Overdoing it. It's hard to find the realism in that person. And that's why I tried to not approach it trying to be funny. Just figure out who this woman is, what her relationship to these people are around her, how she reacts to them, and they just play it that way. And It was.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was funny.
It was funny. I had fun on
It
it.
looked like that.
awesome.
It did.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, ladies, and letting us look into your journeys. And we really hope to see you on the big screen soon. I am looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
I don't work this hard for nothing. First I did it for me, now they keep it 100. I do it to look clean, I do it for the love, and I do it all to show the homies we can have what we wanted. And now I'm chilling in the mansion with a glass of champagne. Not the cheap stuff, but I cannot drop names. Little private plane when I'm flying out to Vegas.